Hello and welcome to Girl Talk, our brand new show on Hitting the Field Network. I'm your producer and one of your hosts, Kiersten Blaylock, and we have a spectacular show for you today. First, we're going to be talking about the Minnesota Vikings with our resident fangirls, and then we're going to touch on what former tennis star Billie Jean King has been doing on and off the court for women in sports. And then lastly, your other host is going to give you the top 5 moments in sports from this past week. So stick around, because it's time for some Girl Talk.
Hello everyone and welcome back. I'm your co-host Lexi Zollo and I'm here with my girl Kiersten Blaylock and my good friends Jack Hanzal and Tyler Brownrigg, our biggest Minnesota Viking fans. Now boys, how are we feeling about the Vikings opening next Sunday against the Bucks after losing their preseason games?
You go first.
It's going to be great. I'm excited. It's a great, easy game to open up against. The Bucks are going to be terrible. Baker Mayfield at quarterback, they're not good. So it should be easy week 1 win.
Yeah, pretty much what he said. The Bucks are just super poverty, and to be honest, I don't see a world where we could ever lose this game. It's just the most automatic 1-0 I've ever seen.
Jack, you want to put your money where your mouth is?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, we'll talk after. But I asked you guys to start off. I asked you guys to give us some of your favorite players. I asked 2 for each. Tyler picked the oldest man in the world, by the way. But I want to start with your first pick, Adrian Peterson. He's a running back. He's number 28. He's still on the team?
He is not on the team
Not
anymore.
on the team
He
anymore.
is long gone, unfortunately.
Okay, so tell me about him. Talk about him. Let's see.
Adrian Peterson was the running back for the Minnesota Vikings. He was drafted in 2007 out of Oklahoma, and he has a case for one of the best running backs of all time. And in 2007, his rookie season, he was immediately just the best. He set the single-game rushing record that year with 296 yards, a record that stands to this day. And he could have got 300, but they just stopped giving him the ball, but that's not important. But what he's most known for is his 2012 MVP season. So to set the stage for that, we go to December of 2011. Mm-hmm. They're playing Washington. Adrian Peterson tears his ACL. And it's awful. The season is over, and now next season's looking terrible because we don't have a quarterback, and it just sucks. Because the timetable for an ACL is about a year-long recovery. Okay. So August comes around, and then this headline pops up, Adrian Peterson to play week 1. And everyone was shocked, because this was over a decade ago. Medicine was not as far as it is today. And so people like, Adrian Peterson, he's going to be a shell of himself. It will be terrible year. He shouldn't be coming back early. He rushes for over 2,000 yards, is second all-time in single-season rushing yards, 9 yards short. Again, a record he could have broke, but they just stopped giving him the ball.
Whoa, calm down.
And he is the last player to win MVP, not a quarterback. So he is just so talented, so amazing, and I wish he'd get appreciated more.
Okay, so I read something last night. So he was the last MVP who wasn't a quarterback.
Yes.
Now he's not playing. So I read this thing where it was like, if he does not get signed with the team, he's going to retire. Going from MVP to like not playing at all and being like, I'm done, is crazy.
That is a normal career
Yeah,
path.
sounds like a
I know,
career,
but like,
yeah.
I don't know.
It was
I just feel
over
like
10 years ago. You know.
I think what is shocking about him, though, is his fall off was pretty hard after that.
That's what I'm saying.
In like 2015 after he left the Vikings and then went to the Saints. And then he was just like bouncing around. He was last on the Seahawks, I'm pretty sure.
I heard his talent got washed after Favre,
Favre.
after Brett Favre threw him an awful interception back in 2009 against the Saints.
You know, he did win MVP 3 years later, so he didn't fall off after that moment.
But his talents were wasted.
It was wasted. For sure. Fun
Okay, we're done. We're done. We're going to move on because I know you wanted to make fun of Tyler for picking the oldest quarterback ever.
I think we all do.
He was my grandpa's favorite player. I will not lie. You know, played in the 60s. My dad was like 0 years old, and
I think it was the black and white highlights for me.
No, literally.
But he revolutionized the game. He was just such a scrambler, and he led the Vikings to Super Bowls. they still lost, and we're still waiting on one, hopefully, this year.
He led him to the Super Bowl. I think it was 3 times, but maybe you guys will finally see a win. A Super Bowl win, maybe.
He was 3 times.
Not
he
maybe.
went not one day. He went to the Super Bowl 3 times, and when he retired, he was the greatest quarterback of all time when he retired. And no one talks about that.
I would agree.
Some say he still is.
Some say he still is.
At 83 years old.
But like nobody
Right here.
cares about that. It took him 3 years to get in the Hall of Fame. That because he was just so underappreciated and no one valued him because he scrambles around. He can't be a good quarterback. And the one knock he always had is he couldn't win the big one, despite being the winningest quarterback in both the regular season and the playoffs in the 70s.
So you think it matters more, not winning the Super Bowl, but
It's not that it doesn't matter not winning the Super Bowl. It's that he.
So basically, it's just for fun.
You can't minimize all of his great accomplishments because of one thing. Where it's Dan Marino, we say he's great and awesome. He never won a Super Bowl, and he only went to 1.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. Dan Marino's just the greatest, talent we've ever seen. But, he didn't win a Super Bowl, so him and Tarkenton are
but he was a first
tomato scenario,
Tomato.
Okay. We're going to move on to Justin Jefferson. Jack, this was one of your picks. He's a wide receiver, number 18. It's written, he is the best wide receiver in the league. Oh, I wrote that.
That's good analysis, though. That's
no, yeah, because I was watching his clips for highlights, and I was like, he just every time he gets thrown the ball, it's 9 times out of 10 going in his hands.
Oh, exactly. It's just him coming out of LSU. He was supposed to be just a random slot receiver, not random, but just a slot receiver. He came in the league and he got benched for a 6th-round draft pick because Mike Zimmer is
Mike Zimmer hates rookies.
He hates rookies and didn't play them. But the minute he stepped on the field, he had that long, 60-yard touchdown where he took my dance move, the gritty, and
Your dance move. This is Jack's dance move, the gritty.
And he's been great ever since.
He did it first.
I did. Favorite player in the league. And it does help that he has one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Kirk Cousins on Kirk Thuggins. Kirk Chains.
Big Kirk.
Jack's been wanting to wear this shirt forever.
Oh, and I am. It looks marvelous too.
Been waiting for this.
Well,
moment.
on that note, let's transition to the guy with the grossest mustache I've ever seen. We're talking about Kirk Cousins.
Just intimidated.
Oh, Kirk Cousins.
Why'd you
the mustache. For one, we should be thankful that we are in the same life as Kirk Cousins to actually witness the mustache he has.
Actually, we shouldn't.
I'm good on the mustache.
And it's stylish. The handlebar is back.
It's not.
It is back, and
Actually, it's not.
He's trying to bring it back. It's gross.
Get a little roller out for me and just grow one, it looks great. Look at that. That's a great Grady.
Well, besides his disturbing mustache,
what can
he's leading the entire NFL in 8 fourth-quarter comebacks.
Yes. They said he wasn't clutch.
Yeah.
What did he do? He came in the clutch time and time again last season.
I mean, as a quarterback, when your team's down, that puts a lot of pressure on you. So, props to him for being able to turn it around.
Some people call him the 4th quarter pharaoh, and I might be one of them. So
You might be the only one.
Listen, if there's 1,000,000, I'm one. If there's 1,000, I'm one. If there's one, I am him.
Timothy.
Kirk Cousins has no fans. That means I'm dead.
Exactly. But 4th quarter pharaoh, this guy, like Tyler said, not clutch. They talk about his Monday night stuff. He's beating all the allegations.
Pressure makes
and
diamonds,
what I'm most
baby.
excited for is this is the first time in his Vikings tenure he's going to have the same offensive play caller for 2 years in a row. The last time he had that in Washington, he threw for almost 5,000 yards. Considering he has Justin Jefferson as well, I do expect the same. And people that don't, study up.
Also, JJ2K is happening this year. It almost happened last year, but he will break 2,000 yards.
So happening.
It's so happening.
Here's the thing. I love reading stats, right? Because I can't imagine them in my head. So you're 5,000 yards. I'm yeah, that's a lot.
You know, not many quarterbacks have done it, and Kirk almost did it once already.
Almost did it once back in like 2014, 15.
Okay.
Do you think he'll be able to do it again this season?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Due to top 6 quarterback according to the NFL players.
You don't wear a handlebar mustache and then not have an MVP season.
That is true.
Okay.
That is true.
So speaking of this upcoming season, they lost all 3 of their preseason games, but preseason doesn't matter. Wah wah, like we get it. So what do you guys think is gonna look like this season's gonna look like for the Vikings?
So the Vikings do open up with a pretty tough schedule. They play quarterbacks like Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert very early on. So I do think it could be a slow start to the season. But the one thing they have going for them is the division is not very good. Jordan Love stinks. And the Lions most...
Take a look at this graphic.
That's hilarious. Preseason, cool.
Doesn't
got
matter,
past that,
doesn't
got
matter.
right past that. That's great.
You know who didn't
But
play in those games? Kirk
Cousins didn't play in
Justin
those
Jefferson.
games.
I hear they don't play the starters on purpose because they want to prevent them from getting injured.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's probably like the
Makes
best
sense.
coaching strategy in the league. But
Smart
we
move.
should just flowers on flowers on flowers for everyone. But they might start off pretty slow, but the Lions, most overrated team of all time. People actually expect them to win division. Guys, the Lions have been bad since your dad was born. So I'm not too worried about the Lions being good.
Fun fact, they've never won the division, I think, in the past, I want to say 30, 40 years?
But the Lions are looking better this year than they ever have, is what I'm hearing.
So they say. I heard that last year, too, and they started off 1-6.
And then they had the worst defense in football.
Yeah.
And then it didn't improve. So
But-
I'll wait.
And
I mean, if
one-
they're at the bottom, they can only go up.
And one thing about the Vikings was they lost a lot of big-name players but on defense, like Eric Kendricks, but I think when you bring a guy like Brian Flores in, and Pace is really good. When you bring a guy like Brian Flores in, your defense is going to be a lot better just from the last game we had. So I expect big things this year.
Yeah, I mean,
win.
realistically, I think they're going to go 11-6 just because they do have a new defensive coordinator, so it is a harder schedule, like you said. But I mean, I think you guys will be able to win the division and make it to the playoffs.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
I'm hoping that they go all the way. But
Oh, what a fan.
last question, big question. Why should everybody watching drop whatever NFL team they watch currently and be the biggest Viking fans ever?
There were 4 words. Kirk Thuggins
No.
and Justin Jefferson. These 2 people are electric, fun to watch, must-see television.
TV.
Oh, you messed it up. But
You ruined it.
it's great time.
There is no drug like the Minnesota Vikings.
There is none.
I will tell you that.
And when you win so much, when you win so many games, you know.
It's such exciting
It's so
passion.
exciting.
How can you not have fun?
Okay. That is all for segment 1. Thank you guys so much. It was such a pleasure to have you both on for the first episode of Girl Talk. And everybody watching, stay tuned because we will be right back with Maddie Glass to talk about some more women's sports.
Hot takes. I'm Johnny Jackson. We've got Emily Aaron to my right and Maluka Costa to my left.
Hello and welcome to our segment of Hot Ones. I'm here with Noah Kemper and Grant
Wheeler.
Yep, I knew that. Grant Wheeler.
Listen, I'm a Bills fan, but I just can't ever argue against LeBron. I watched him my whole life.
I've been going back and forth with this debate for a long time. It's got to be Michael Jordan.
Whatever she wanted. I would wake up in a maid costume for Doja Cat.
Brutal.
Jeffrey Laux, no question.
Richie, I would give it to Richie.
It is not Richie. It is not Richie.
No, it's Jeff.
Richie's pronouns are he, they, because he cannot be him.
What?
Oh, wait a second.
I'm gonna have to also agree and say Jeff. He always is spiffy.
It might be Cameron. Cameron's had some good fits.
Out of the women, Norelli always dresses really, really cute.
Brother. That went so long.
It's basketball.
College football, I think, is the best sport to watch.
If you don't like soccer, it's because you suck at it.
I think college football is the best.
Thanks for watching.
Did you miss us? Because we missed you. This is segment 2, and it is the name of the show. This is our Girl Talk segment where we highlight, a woman's sport, like a game or like a player. And today we're here with Maddie Glass, host and producer of Nighttime. Maddie, how are you feeling today?
I'm good. I'm excited to be on the season debut of Girl Talk.
Yeah. Yes. And we are going to talk about Billie Jean King. Lexi, you want to take it away?
Oh, yeah. Billie Jean King. She is a phenomenal tennis player. If you don't know her, well, now you do. She was a #1 tennis player. She had 39 major championship titles, and she was a 26-time finalist. I mean, her overall winning percentage is 80%. Her overall record, 782 to 192. I mean, that is incredible. She was the first tennis player named Sports Illustrated Person of the Year and the first female to ever receive that award. And not only that, she was Time Magazine's Woman of the Year. But in 2009, she became the first female athlete to receive the Presidential Medal of Freedom from Barack Obama. I mean, she is a phenomenal on and off the court because she does a lot of things off the court for women in sports, and it's a real honor to see what she's doing for us.
Yeah, so like recently there was an article that was published where she was talking about, you know, what needs to happen in the future of women's sports and like, you know, how do we just make it more, I'm trying to think of the word. Like, how do we make women's sports as important as men's sports? Because obviously it is. Obviously it's as important, but people don't seem to think of it as so. So her big thing is that we need more enthusiastic investors in women's sports. Maddie, I know you had something you wanted to input about this.
Yeah, well, I mean, Billie Jean King, she's a generational athlete, somebody that has done amazing things on and off the court. I know we talked about her on the women's show last year, and we talked about how she has started these foundations that support female athletes and give scholarships to college athletes, you know, funding women's sports. And I know last night was a huge moment in women's sports. If you didn't know, Nebraska volleyball actually played in front of 92,000 people.
I saw it. That was crazy.
Yeah, they played in the football stadium. The entire Nebraska state came out to support, and it set the world record for most people at a women's sporting event. It was just incredible. If you watch the videos, it was like, I don't think Nebraska football gets those numbers. It's just, it was very inspiring.
It's heartwarming and inspiring to see people respecting women's sports as much as they are now and being in this era, and we're living through that. It's exciting to be able to see all this stuff happening with women's sports because we're living through it all, and I'm all for it.
Well, okay, so it's a great start, and there's a quote that I want to read from Billie Jean King. She says, "I think we're at a tipping point for women's sports. For the first time in my life, I feel like I can breathe a little bit. The thing I worry about is don't blow it. It's like when you get in a match. You get an opportunity, finish." The point is, like, the point being, like, I'm so glad we set a record, but there's still so far to go.
Oh, yeah.
One of the things that when I was prepping for the show, I was looking up on YouTube for, like, highlights and stuff. And I was like, women's basketball, women's, not soccer, but women's, like, lacrosse, or women's sports in general. And the top videos were like, top 10 sexiest moments in women's sports. The 32 biggest mistakes in women's sports with, like, gross, like, thumbnails.
Yeah.
And it really, like, made me upset because in such an age where we're trying to make women's sports be taken seriously, where we're getting numbers that are breaking records, where we're, you know, getting more attention on women's sports, and yet it's still just something where it's like, oh, well, women are just, like, for our enjoyment.
It's like a joke to people. Like, we are just, like, you know, physical things to look at when really, like, women have just as much talent as guys do when it comes to sports, and I feel like we need to be respected more in that way. And also something else I wanted to touch base on was how men have the tendencies to ruin women championships, just like in the World Cup. Spain just won. Coach Luis Rubiales, I always forgot to say his name, he took his player, Jenny Hermoso, and he kissed her on the mouth. And now he's seeing a 90-day suspension and further punishment probably because I saw on an Instagram live that she was like, I didn't like that kiss. Like, it's just inappropriate that he did that to her. And not only did he violate her, he took the attention from them winning because now everyone is just focusing on him kissing her and no one's paying attention to how they literally just won the World Cup.
Yeah, I mean, it really does make me upset because honestly, like, I don't play sports, right? So I can sit here and be like, everybody needs to respect women in sports more. But, like, it doesn't mean a lot because I'm not, an athlete. But, like, having the ability to just sit here and be like, if you are somebody who enjoys sports and you are not watching women's sports, you're missing out.
I think one of the things that maybe is negative also about like you looking up the videos is that it doesn't surprise me. It's a shame that these women, probably a lot of those, they're in the Olympics, they're in the World Cup, they are completely dominating whatever sport they're in, and they're being reduced to how they look or, you know, the top moments that things were negative. So I think, you know, we're doing our part right now. We are talking, this is going to go on YouTube. This is going to be, when you look up women's sports, we're doing our part and we're talking about how talented these athletes are and to continue doing that because, you know, the YouTube videos were made by media people and people who create content. So we have to do the same and just put it in the correct light.
Yeah, it starts with us. And what we're doing right now is going to be the first part to making a change in this. And I'm very excited about it.
All right. Well, thank you, Maddie, so much for joining us. It was a pleasure having you
Thank you for
here
having
on
me.
Girl Talk. Stay tuned because when we come back, Lexi's going to give you the top 5 moments of sports that happened this weekend.
Hello everyone and welcome back. My name is Lexi Zollo, and if you stuck around this long, well, you're in for a real treat because I'm coming at you with the top 5 moments in sports that happened this past week. And coming in at number 1, the Supreme Court's decision allowing college athletes to profit from their name, image, and likeliness is surprisingly becoming a problem. The idea that athletes are being better supported is starting to be recognized, but the reality of that support isn't being attained. A few former D1 student athletes spoke to The Hill recently about their own experiences with the NIL and what they would like to see from federal legislation. Their main concern is students are going to pick certain schools for the wrong reasons now. It's starting to be more about the money instead of their education, which is what should be prioritized. Former student athlete Nicole Goot, a synchronized swimmer for Stanford, said she's worried about how collegiate athletes are going to be shaped now because it becomes less about the talent, team, culture, community, and becomes about who has the most money and who has the most connections. Coming in at number 2, Stanford University sports are being put on the brink during COVID, and we could potentially see the same issues again with the Pac-12 collapsing. Now that 8 schools have left the Pac-12, Stanford is looking to join the ACC, but has yet to receive the votes. They need from current ACC members to make this possible. No matter where Stanford ends up, their athletics department is definitely going to lose a huge amount of money during the realignment process. If Stanford joins the ACC, they will be taking in a lot less money and facing a lot more travel costs. This whole situation has coaches and players wondering if a downsize is coming again. But as of right now, it looks like we'll be okay, hopefully. And coming in at number 3, the Eagles are the first NFL team to support female youth athletes. They partnered with nonprofit Operation Warm to give away 30,000 sports bras to female athletes in need. Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts, world champion boxer Layla Ali, World Cup soccer champion Carly Lloyd, and Philadelphia's own women's tackle football pioneer Kiana Star-Wright joined forces to make this possible. And their motive was to remove the barriers that could get in the way of girls who want to play sports but don't have access to the proper equipment. The girls at Northeast High School are the first group to receive the sports bras. 12th grader Tasman Sabel said, "It is an amazing feeling having a light shined on them, especially being an inner city school." Another student said, "It feels amazing. It makes us want to play our sports more." And that is the whole idea here because studies show girls who play sports are more likely to go to college, land competitive jobs, and achieve other dreams. And that was the whole goal here. And I'm so excited to see that the Eagles are the first NFL team to support youth athletes like this. Number 4, Shohei Ohtani's UCL tear changes everything for the Angels and his own career. After Ohtani blew his arm out last week, we are reminded that none of this is promised, and we are all proud of Ohtani for all he has done in his career so far. And we do not know if he needs another Tommy John surgery yet, but if that's the case, the success rate for pitchers having 2 Tommy John surgeries isn't great, and this will be Ohtani's second one. He will no longer be pitching this season, but the good news is he is still able to play as a designated hitter. Ohtani's free agency just got a lot more complicated because if he cannot pitch again, he just became a lot less valuable since he can only hit. He's no longer a 2-in-1 player. And the real question is, will teams want to pay for a player who can only hit and hope he can possibly pitch again in the future? I don't know, but we'll have to see later on. And coming in at number 5, the WNBA Las Vegas Aces are set out to reinvent women in sports. The Aces' new practice facility is the first of its kind in the league, including 2 basketball courts. And this is a huge step in the right direction for women in sports because no women's NBA team has ever had a designated practice facility. Candace Parker, WNBA star, has played all over the world for the last 16 seasons, and she said she's never seen anything like this. She told her wife that she is on eggshells because she cannot believe her new surroundings. Not only does this practice facility have 2 basketball courts, but it also has lockers, a sauna, massage chairs, a family lounge, and everything else you could imagine. It's really nice to see a city like Las Vegas that has embraced growth and excess invest in women's sports by creating such a beautiful facility for these women. The respect is being shown, and I am loving it. And unfortunately, that is all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for sticking around, and I am your host, Lexi Zollo, and I'll see you all next week for another episode of Girl Talk.
Things gon' change when I really hit the field. Undefeated chance, man, you know what's the deal. Tryna find a kid, I'm in the field doing drills. Boy, you just a sucker, you ain't never keep it real. 3 rings in my hand, I'm a warrior to the max. When I hang it up, they gon' have to give me plaques. Step up in the building and I only bring the facts. When I make a highlight, they gon' replay, run it back. Okay, always locked in, now I don't got time to lax. Saying he the best, he could take a lap. Batted 1,000 when you check the stats. Boy, is you ready? You ain't gotta ask.